Hey, it's Brad. So, pain and pleasure have their spectrum across your threshold of what's optimal for growth and reinforcement. And the urgency with which a signal is requesting reinforcement or reassignment, separation from the current state, is what determines the strength and severity of that pain or pleasure. And then those happen on their tiers, their layers of, like immediacy and how much processing goes into it. And those can essentially be mapped to like the chakra levels, where you have, and same with hierarchy of needs or anything like that. And then it goes on kind of a spectrum, another axis of affecting just yourself and affecting others, and all of them, they start with just immediate, short-term, very small animal level, pleasure-seeking, and then kind of go out in all different directions and converge again only at the longest timeline point at infinity. And that's where it plays out to where everything that this concept eventually interacted with, everything it eventually affected, whether it had a positive or negative eventual benefit. And that's essentially its sum of semantic existence. It's full life. All of its meaning is there kind of retroactively. So the strength with which a spirit resonates, like strength of will or determination or decisive resoluteness or confidence in action, those are all pretty much just the same concept on different levels. And trying to override a strong pain or pleasure signal requires a larger signal from a higher pattern. Like imagine trying to explain to your hand that it's gangrenous and needs to be cut off when that's the state of medical technology. Or more now, trying to explain to your skin why it's you're sunburning. Oh, didn't I do a good job protecting your inside parts from getting stuff in them? Yeah, good job, skin. I just want you to be darker, so I'm going to sit in the sun for a while. And like, it's easy to override some things, but the same signal when it's like, hard to get out of bed or something like that, and it's like, okay, well, I know all of my physical layers are saying that I need to not get up, but then everything of the like person layer and above says, no, it's better to go ahead and get up. And that's, the difference of whether you snooze your alarm, whether that 5 minutes is actually going to help or not. Because, at some level, it's not. But then in the moment, it feels like it might. It's worth a shot. That's an addict mentality. But all in all, if it comes down to like the spark, the deciding spark and the experiencing spark. The deciding spark pretty much being the one, like that old, the Wooly Willy game, not really a game, but toy, a kid's toy where it's a piece of cardboard and some iron filings in a clear plastic part, and there's a face paint on it, and you can have a magnet and you move it in front of him. It puts the filings wherever you draw it to, like etch a sketch kind of thing. And they move towards the magnet as you draw it. And the magnet's kind of the goal point and the paragon for the iron filing, but you don't want it to get to the magnet, or the whole purpose of the toy is destroyed. But you want to have it be clearly defined to be able to move the filings. So by having things like clearly defined senses of pain and pleasure and sensory input, that's good to a degree. But if any layer overwhelms the rest, like if the strength of that magnet pulls the iron filings through the plastic and they latch onto the little thing, it's all wrecked. If you become slave to your physical pleasures, which, if a pathway gets reinforced more and more, it starts affecting other pathways kind of as the deciding factor of whether their decisions and results should be considered good as to whether it serves that one. And that's, essentially letting your belly be your god, or what other various part you may be chasing. So if the experiencing spark, really, as soon as you are done having an experience, which by the time it reaches your brain to be aware of the experience, it's already happened. So technically, you only ever experience something in hindsight. And whether you view consciousness as being completely mundane, just aggregate thing, gestalt of your meat potato having an electrical storm, or really that's kind of the only mundane perspective that I can think of. But anything more than that, whether it's we're all one in some way, or even just your own, but you will live eternally in one way or another, and have your own mind uniquely. Well, in that context, you're accountable to your future self. In any other context, you are accountable to that aggregate soul. And in a theistic context, what would make sense to be able to exist in a place where no bad exists is only those aspects of you that are not bad. And by bad, that definition would entirely be that which does not resonate with that which is the eventual good, because that is the definition of the good that would exist after time. So trying to explain to humans in the moment why they're suffering, like, a lot easier before I was a parent. Trying to explain to my kids why they're having to go through something is just heart-wrenching. But just in general, trying to explain to yourself, let alone to someone else, why bad things happen to everyone, well, you're just not looking at the big enough picture.